dive right, cause it can't miss. All about the game, that's a cold switch. Serving up the truth, call it ruthless. Tune in and get your fix from Blake and Vish Sports.
Right. There's been a lot of talk, right? Blake and Vish Sports has probably done like 4 different videos this NFL season on who the best team in the AFC is. I'm not sure this team is the best team in the AFC, and they will be the best team in the AFC all the way through the rest of the season. But right now, they do deserve credit because of who they've beaten and how they've beaten them. And I think the reason they deserve extra credit is because they have a unit on this team that is playing at a level that I don't think anybody expected coming into the season. The Titans defense was terrible last season, and they were terrible despite having some good players. They add Bud Dupree to this defense, and they're schematically so sound this year. There's a lot of guys showing out, and I just wanted to give them credit. Like, the Tennessee defense is unbelievably good. So what do you think about the Titans? How good are they? What do you think of their defense?
Yeah, so I think they have 3 really, really good guys that have been kind of holding it down. One guy who's, I know, one of your favorite, Jeffrey Simmons, interior D-line's been really, really good. The first episode I think we ever did on our channel, you said he was the most underrated player in football. And that was a year and a half, probably like a year ago. So I still think he's probably being pretty heavily underrated. Landry has been really good as an edge. This is something that they've been really missing over the last few years. If you remember last year, their biggest guy was Clowney, and Clowney just did not work out for the Titans. We can just put it that way. Did not work out. They also have Bud Dupree, so I don't know if he's been exactly worth the big contract, but as a number 2 guy, I think he's a perfect number 2 guy as your second best pass rusher. And then the safety, Kevin Bayerd. I feel like he's another one of those guys, small market safeties that's kind of disrespected, or just maybe not disrespected, but not talked about as good. For how good he is, he's not discussed enough. I think you could probably say that about some of the other safeties from small towns or smaller teams, like the Jesse Bates, like the Justin Simmons. Those guys who are really, really good, not getting talked about enough. I'd say Bayard's kind of in that same mold of people and how good he's been. So I think those guys have really been the ones holding it down, and this is really impressive what they've done without Derrick Henry so far. I'm surprised. I mean, everyone was saying he should be in the MVP conversation, but if you can do what they've done without him, and I know it's not like their offense has been fantastic without him, but doing what they did against the Rams, I think you have to put some stock in that and really show how good the defense has been.
Yeah, I think you nailed the everything. Like, the first things first, right, is they have 3 elite players. The first 2, I think, have been elite for a little while. Kevin Bayerd has been a really good safety for a long time, and to me, he's one of the 5 or 6 best safeties in the NFL. Jeffrey Simmons, I mentioned him when we were talking about Chris Jones at the beginning. He is one of the 3 best interior defensive linemen in the NFL, in my opinion. It's him, Chris Jones, and Aaron Donald. I think those are the 3 best. We saw what he did on Sunday Night Football. The guy is incredible. And then finally, it's Harold Landry, who, he had a lot of potential before his draft. He showed his potential at the beginning of his career, and then it was like, is he just going to be an average player? This year, he's been lights out. He's been like one of the 5 best edge rushers in the NFL. If you just look at sole production based on this year, Harold Landry has been as good as anybody. He's an unbelievable player. And then they have a lot of players who are like really underrated, who fit well around him. Like, Rashaan Evans is good. David Long is good. And, even though they've had all their corners hurt, right? Christian Fulton got hurt. Caleb Farley played like 3 snaps and got hurt. They've been able to make do because their front 4 basically wrecks games, and they rush 4 and they drop 7 into coverage and they play zone. They're really sound. Vrabel's a really good coach. He's a good coach defensively, and he's a good coach situationally. And they're really smart with how they play, and they're well prepared for a lot of game plans. And because of all of that, we're seeing that this is the first time under Vrabel they have a real defense where even if Derrick Henry gets hurt, this team is still going to be, especially given how the AFC has been, everybody's not played good. They're going to be as good as anybody to make the Super Bowl even without Derrick Henry, because Tannehill is still a good quarterback. He's still very accurate, and he's still good off play action. they still run block really well. None of the running backs they have can take advantage of runs like Foreman and Peterson the way Henry could, but they can still run the ball. AJ Brown, Julio Jones is still tough for anybody to handle. They're both really, really good still. And then this defense is real. It'll be tough for any offense to move the ball against this defense because they can get pressure with their front four between Dupree, Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, and then they can drop 8 into coverage and they play really clean and sound. So I think that this Tennessee team right now is the best team in the AFC. I don't know if it'll last that way. I'm happy that I was one of the people who said that they would win this division for sure. It would not be Indianapolis. I'm feeling pretty good about that at this moment. We did do a couple topics about that, so not to rub it into you, but to rub it into you. But I do think that their defense is really what's their driving force this season, not their offense.
Definitely, and that was kind of something coming into the season that have told us that the Tennessee defense has been keeping this team afloat and has been really good. That would have probably been a major surprise. Their defense was not that great last year, even though their offense was a top 3 scoring offense in the league, and their offense maybe hasn't been as good as it was last year, but I mean, they still have most of those pieces, and Derrick Henry looks like he will be able to come back for that playoff run. So we'll see if he can come back and be as good as and be as dominant as he was earlier. I know foot injury, it's like his outside of, I think it's pinky toe, something in his foot, which is, I mean, I don't know the extent of it, but it just seems really bad for a running back, especially someone as big as he is, cutting as hard as he is. So we'll see if he can come back and be as good. But until now, we just get to watch Adrian Peterson and Dante Foreman and Jeremy McNichols kind of see what they can do taking over all those snaps. But I'm excited to see what this offense can start producing without Henry. And AJ Brown being healthy is really, really underrated storyline for them, because beginning of the season, he was not the AJ Brown of the past 2 years. And now he's starting to ramp things up back again. So we'll see how they do.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, but I did want to, no matter what, give them a shout out because they've been very good, and I don't think they've been getting enough credit nationally. I feel like it always happens with Tennessee, right? Tannehill never gets enough credit. Outside of Derrick Henry, honestly, none of their players get enough credit. So I wanted to make sure we covered that.